$4,200 is the average cost an independent shop will quote you just to replace a single turbocharger on the new 3.0-liter Hurricane engine. But that is not the reason your local mechanic is turning you away. The real reason is a small plastic box located behind the glove box called a security gateway module, which Stellantis began standardizing across the Ram lineup in 2018. If an independent mechanic wants to simply clear a basic code or perform a forced DPF regeneration on a 2024 Ram 1500, they are now required to pay an annual subscription fee to a third-party service called AutoAuth. Without this digital handshake from a corporate server in the cloud, the truck literally locks the technician out of its own nervous system. The man you have trusted for 20 years to keep your family safe on the road has been intentionally blinded by a line of code. They are no longer selling you a mechanical tool that you own and control. They are selling you a locked vault that requires a monthly permission slip to open. The 2024 Ram 1500 marks the definitive end of the era where a man with a wrench and a brain could keep a truck on the road for 2 decades. It is the first year where the mechanical reality of the truck is completely secondary to the digital wall built around it. They did not build a better truck. They built a better cage. For decades, the 5.7-liter Hemi was the backbone of the American job site because it was a known quantity. It had its flaws, like the notorious manifold bolt shears or the occasional lifter failure, but these were problems a human being could understand and solve in a driveway. In 2022, Stellantis announced a $1.1 billion investment into their Saltillo engine plant to phase out the V8 in favor of the twin-turbocharged Hurricane Straight 6. On paper, the power numbers look impressive, but the engineering tells a story of planned obsolescence and extreme thermal stress that no honest mechanic wants to be responsible for. The Hurricane engine uses a technology called plasma wire arc, sprayed cylinder liners instead of traditional iron sleeves to save weight and reduce friction. This process involves melting a steel wire and spraying it onto the aluminum cylinder walls at supersonic speeds to create a coating only 150 microns thick. This means if a piston ring fails or a cylinder wall gets scored by a piece of debris, the block cannot be bored out or honed in a traditional machine shop. There is no oversized piston for a Hurricane engine because there is no material left to remove. You do not rebuild a Hurricane engine. You throw the entire $12,000 long block in the scrap heap and buy a new one from the dealer. The engine was not designed to be maintained by a craftsman. It was designed to be replaced by a consumer. The complexity of the plumbing alone is enough to make a 30-year master technician walk away. The high-output version of this engine utilizes 2 separate cooling loops with dedicated electric pumps and a water-to-air intercooler integrated directly into the intake manifold. If that internal intercooler develops a pinhole leak, it dumps coolant directly into the combustion chamber under boost. By the time the driver sees a warning light on that fancy digital dash, the rods are already bent. According to NHTSA technical service bulletins, the electrical architecture of the 2024 model year has become so dense that a single faulty sensor in the active grille shutter assembly can bring down the entire high-speed CAN bus network. When the truck dies on the shoulder of the highway, your mechanic cannot even tell you why because the diagnostic software costs more than his shop's monthly rent. The YTech 2.0 subscription required to actually talk to this truck costs approximately $1,350 per year, and that is before you pay for the hardware. Most independent shops simply cannot justify the cost of the tools when the manufacturer makes it clear they do not want the truck serviced outside the dealer network. That is not engineering. That is an anti-competitive monopoly disguised as a powertrain. Stellantis is currently facing the reality of a massive inventory buildup, with some dealer lots sitting on over 100 days of unsold Ram 1500 stock. The executive team, led by CEO Carlos Tavares, knows that the profit is no longer in the sale of the vehicle, but in the captive service revenue generated by the software lockouts. In their 2023 financial reports, Stellantis highlighted a goal of generating 20 billion euros in annual revenue from software-enabled services by 2030. That revenue does not come from selling you a better truck. It comes from you paying a dealer $300 for a software flash that should have been a 5-minute fix at a local shop. They are turning the dealership service bay into a toll booth on the road to your own livelihood. The dealer network has become a parasitic layer that exists to extract value from the second and third owners of these vehicles. When a 2024 Ram hits 100,000 miles and the factory warranty expires, the cost of a single major electrical failure will likely exceed the trade-in value of the truck. This is the disposable truck era, where the vehicle is designed to be a 5-year lease and a 10-year scrap project. Quality becomes a cost center to be minimized, not a standard to be upheld. If you are looking for a truck that belongs to you and not a corporate server, you need to look at the 2018 to 2022 Ram 1500 Classic models. These trucks utilize the fourth-generation architecture, specifically the DS body style, which represents the last of the truly serviceable Rams. The 5.7-liter Hemi in these years is paired with the ZF-sourced 8HP70 transmission, which fleet operators have documented reaching 300,000 miles with only basic fluid intervals. While these trucks still contain the security gateway module, the aftermarket has already defeated it. You can buy a bypass cable for $60 that allows you to use a standard OBD2 scanner to talk to the truck without a corporate permission slip. When you go to buy one of these, ignore the eTorque mild hybrid models. The eTorque system adds a 48-volt lithium-ion battery pack behind the rear seat and a belt start generator that replaces the traditional alternator. The battery pack has a documented history of cooling fan failures that lead to thermal degradation, and the replacement cost is north of $2,000 for the part alone. Instead, look for a standard 2021 or 2022 Hemi Classic with the 3.92 rear gear ratio. Verify the maintenance records for 5,000-mile oil changes, as the multi-displacement system in the Hemi is notoriously sensitive to oil sludge that clogs the solenoids. A clean 2021 Ram 1500 Classic with under 50,000 miles can still be found in the $35,000 range on the private market. It is a truck that a mechanic can still fix because it was built when mechanics were still allowed to have an opinion. Choosing a truck from this era is a deliberate rejection of the subscription model future. The 2024 model is a bridge to a future where you are a permanent tenant of your own driveway. The industry is betting that you will trade your right to repair for a bigger touchscreen and a few extra horsepower. They are counting on your silence as they build a digital wall between you and the machine you paid for with your hard-earned money. Every time a manufacturer encrypts a VIN-locked module, they are stealing a piece of your independence. Every time they replace a serviceable iron cylinder sleeve with a non-rebuildable spray coating, they are shortening the lifespan of American mobility. The moment they moved the keys to the cloud, they stopped being your partner and started being your landlord. We are entering an era where the most valuable tool in your garage isn't a torque wrench, but the knowledge of which years to avoid. The 2024 Ram is a warning shot across the bow of the American truck owner. It is a signal that the corporations have given up on the idea of long-term reliability in favor of short-term data harvesting. The honest mechanic isn't refusing to touch your truck because he's lazy. He's refusing to touch it because he refuses to be an accomplice in your financial ruin. He knows that once he opens that hood, he is stepping into a trap designed by 1,000 engineers to ensure that only the dealer wins. If you value your freedom and your bank account, you will leave the 2024 models to rot on the dealer lots until the industry remembers who they are actually building these machines for. I will be digging deeper into the specific bypass tools and software workarounds for these encrypted systems in the next report. Knowing how to break the digital lock is the only way to keep your independence in a world that wants to subscribe you to death. Subscribe to stay ahead of the technical changes they are trying to hide in the fine print of your owner's manual. You bought the truck. It is time you took back the key.